Where are you in your current process not prioritizing your company's messages over your audience best interest? Put on a hat that's focused on audience first communication, regardless of what you're doing inside your storytelling role, whether that's media relations or marketing. Focus on your audience more so than your organization. And you'll see an incredible conversion of interest and participation, collaboration, coverage, engagement, etc.
Welcome to On Top of PR with Jason Mudd.
Hello and welcome to On Top of PR. I'm your host, Jason Mudd with Axia Public Relations. And today we're talking about why your press release isn't getting any coverage. Basically, why isn't your press release getting any coverage? You wrote it. You distribute it. You might have even paid to put it on a newswire. So why is no one picking it up, sharing it, or even clicking on it? That's what we're going to explore today. If this is happening to you, the issue probably isn't distribution, although that's a big one, and we should dedicate another episode to that topic soon. It's how you're thinking about the story in the first place that I think is the hurdle for most organizations and most practitioners. Today, I'm going to walk you through what's actually going wrong and how to fix it. This episode is for marketing leaders, marketing directors, marketing chiefs, as well as public relations practitioners. I'm here today to help you sharpen what you're doing and make this work well for you. This is a solocast episode, so it's just me. There's not a guest today. We do this every fifth episode, giving me an opportunity to share with you some of my insights on public relations, strategic communication, storytelling, content creation, and more. So let's set the table. Is it called press release or is it called news release? Before we get too far, I want to align on this language. Most people say press release. It's a common term used by consumers or business people, but the press really isn't the audience anymore. The media is mostly digital. Audiences are fragmented. I will tell you, when I was an intern, I was pitching a TV station, and the very curmudgeon, cynical assignment desk editor there, or assignment desk manager, he told me I could send my damn press release to the press. They were a TV station, and that I should probably correct the way I'm using that terminology. Guys, that was like 30 years ago and almost, and I've never forgotten that. So at one point, AP Style, or the Associated Press stylebook, said that news releases were preferred. I heard they changed that or dropped that. But either way, the media is mostly digital, audiences are fragmented, and your content doesn't go to journalists. It now goes directly just to journalists. It now goes directly to search engines, AI platforms, and your customers directly. So that's why the profession, journalists and media relations professionals, prefer the term news release, and you should too, unless you're doing it using that term strictly for optimization purposes, and then like search engine optimization, for example. And then maybe you want to intertwine the keyword press release, just like we're doing here. But because what we're doing is publishing a story into an information ecosystem, not just to newsrooms. And if your story isn't built for that environment, it gets ignored. So let's jump back in. We see this all the time. A marketing team issues a press release, or a company issues a press release about a product launch, a partnership, or a company milestone. They expect coverage. Instead, nothing happens. Crickets. No media pickup, no meaningful traffic, no engagement. Then they assume, okay, the media didn't care. We need better distribution. In reality, the problem started much earlier, because the real problem is your press release, your news release is not built for the audience. Most news releases are written for the company. It's written for the CEO. It's written for the executives. It's written maybe for shareholders or just whatever the company wants shared. And I understand you have to please your internal customer, your internal client, your boss, your leadership team, etc. But then don't call it a news release if you're trying to appeal to that audience. Call it what it is in that particular case. Instead, most press releases should be written, are not written for the audience, for the journalist, for the reader, and not for the algorithm. And that's why they fail. Let's walk through the key reasons. So today we're going to talk about 5 reasons your news release isn't getting coverage. But by the way, we have a full list of 10 and growing, but today we're only focusing on 5. We'll give you a link to check out all 5 later in this episode. All right, so number 1, you lead with what you want to say, not what they want to know. Most press releases start out with, company X is excited to announce Y. That's not the story. That's an internal update. a journalist or reader is asking, whether they realize it or not, consciously or subconsciously, why should I care? Why now? And why does this matter? Now, most journalists are trained to think about this, right? Why should my audience care? How does this impact them? And why does it matter to them? And if you don't answer that in the first few lines or the first line, perhaps, of your pitch or your news release, you lose that audience. So here's a hypothetical example. A staffing firm announces a new recruiting platform. Okay. A better angle would be how employers are reducing time to hire by 30% using this new recruiting approach, right? That is probably much more relevant to an audience if you're going after a B2B audience of people who are employing others. Our number 2 here is your headline wasn't built for clicks or discovery. That's one of the mistakes you make. Your headline does 2 jobs: earn the click and get found in search and AI results. Now, I think this is more speaking to posting a release on the wire, but at the same time, you want to use a headline that's going to get attention. And so most headlines fail at getting attention. They fail at earning clicks. They fail at getting found in search and AI results. They're either too vague or self-promotional. You should be pressure testing your headlines and relevance using tools like Google Trends. Look at how people already search, look at search patterns, look at rising interest or trending topics, and align your topic with that topic. But you know what? Google Trends and this advice goes well beyond just news release preparation. You can also use this for blog posts and other content that you're working on. But then you want to align your headline with that same behavior of what you're seeing. If no one searches for it, no one clicks, then nothing else really matters. The third item we want to talk about today is you assume distribution creates demand. Putting a news release on a wire doesn't create interest. It only creates availability. Media coverage still depends on relevance, timing, and audience value. If the story isn't strong, wider distribution just means more people are going to ignore it. That's a hard truth, but it's an important one. Again, for more on this topic, we'll add a link inside the episode notes to previous On Top of PR episodes that discuss newswire distribution. You know, I'll just insert this commentary for a quick minute. If you're Microsoft, Disney, Ford, or some other major brand, then you're going to have what's called beat writers, people who are assigned the beat of covering your company, especially if you're publicly traded and you're a very large global household name brand. There's going to be people standing by waiting to see, assigned to be standing by waiting to see what you post on a newswire. If that doesn't describe your company, then posting something to a newswire is not guaranteed to get you coverage because you're not a well-known organization. People aren't standing by waiting to see what you announce. And so therefore, you're competing in a very competitive environment where your news release and announcement must stand out. All right, mistake number 4 is you wrote for approval internally instead of impact externally. Many releases get diluted during internal reviews. Legal, leadership, marketing all add language and change up what's in the content. What you end up with is safe but not compelling. Safe content doesn't get shared, it gets ignored. You need clarity and specification or specificity, not more adjectives. But you also need to follow inverted pyramid and other best practices from the Associated Press following their AP style. And there's a couple other things that we get into in the full 10 lists that I think are really important. I'll tease a couple of those here in a minute, but ultimately you need to be thinking big picture about how your release is viewed externally outside of the 4 walls of your organization or institution. Stop writing your press release or news release for the CEO, for the leadership team. Instead, a news release is written for newsrooms, and in the modern internet and AI era, it's also reaching consumers and buyers and decision makers directly. But it's still called a news release for a reason, because you're announcing company news. You're sending it ideally to newsrooms and posting it on a wire and putting it on your website. So it still needs to follow traditional news values and demonstrating news judgment and following the right format. So the big mistake number 5 is you didn't align with how content gets surfaced today. Your release doesn't just compete for media attention, it competes in search results, AI generated answers, social media feeds, news aggregators. And that means structure matters. You need a clear headline, direct language, answer-driven content. That's where search engine optimization and generative engine optimization come into play. Not as separate tactics, but as an integrated part of how your content is written from the beginning. So let's talk about how we fix this. What do you do differently? Your mindset must shift. You've got to shift your mindset from what do we want to announce to what would someone care, click, and share. That's the pivot. What would someone care, click, and share? Ask yourself that. Ask your executives that. It doesn't matter what the CEO wants to announce. It doesn't matter what the company just did. Why does it matter to people outside your organization? So here's how we start to fix this. 3 changes come to mind. First, define the audience before you write anything. This isn't for your internal stakeholders. This is for your external audience. Second, you want to validate your angle using real data, search behavior, trends, language patterns. Third, you must write it like a journalist, clear, direct, focused on impact. A news release is basically a news story written by your company. It's not a marketing brochure, not a sales pitch. It is genuinely needs to be news focused, newsworthy, illustrating the 10 elements of news, which the 2 most important is location and topic. But if it reads like marketing, it won't get coverage. No matter how much your CMO or chief revenue officer insist on certain language, that should go in a brochure. That should go in a sales script. It should not go inside a news release. If this feels different from how your team currently approaches news releases, that's the point of this episode. Public relations today, media relations today, and I would argue for a long time, is not just about sending information. It's about earning attention in a very competitive environment. The environment gets more competitive every day. If you found this helpful, we've put together a full list of 10 candid reasons your news release isn't getting coverage. I think this list of 10 does an even better job of spelling out all of this for you, including at least 3 insights that surprise most media relations professionals. For example, 1, a news release isn't required to earn media coverage. We've earned some of our best media coverage not from sending out a news release, but instead sending out a really good pitch, picking up the phone and having a conversation with a reporter, inviting a journalist to lunch or some other in-person meeting, and talking through a story with them to determine their interest level. And the best news release headlines don't even mention your organization's name. That's my second insight that will surprise even most media relations professionals who practice media relations in pursuit of earned media all the time. So, in fact, your company name, organization name, not only wouldn't go in the headline, but it might not even appear until the second paragraph. And I know a lot of you are going to be completely in disbelief about that, but there's actual research that shows that the most news release pickup comes from news releases where the organization or sponsor of the news release, their name is not in the headline, their name is not in the lead paragraph. Now, you still have to put your organization name in there or else it would be unethical, and most news wires won't accept anything else. But at the end of the day, you don't have to put your company name in the headline, nor does it need to be in the lead. What should be in the headline and in the lead is the actual news itself. And I'm happy to walk you through more of those details in the future. If you're interested, you can find our full list in the episode notes by searching on Google or your favorite search or generative AI platform for the topic that we wrote about. The headline of it is 10 2026 press release tips marketers aren't going to like. It's 10 2026 press release tips marketers aren't going to like. Search for that in Google or wherever you prefer, and make sure you specify it's on the axiapr.com domain when you do the search. But we'll also link it in the episode notes for your convenience. You can find that at ontopofpr.com, or you can find it here wherever you're listening to this within the description of this episode. Now, I promise you that those tips will be relevant well beyond 2026. They were relevant before 2026. They're going to be relevant beyond it. But this is something I think needs the attention of every marketing leader, every communications leader, every media relations and public relations practitioner, because the bottom line is this: coverage isn't something you request, it's something you earn. And that's why we call it earned media, not paid media. And it starts with how you think about the story before you even craft or write that first word. It's all about precision. It's all about standing out, but it's also about being compliant with the standards and expectations of the audience you're sending it to, which is a newsroom. So let me ask you, where are you in your current process not prioritizing your company's messages over your audience best interest? Put on a hat that's focused on audience first communication, regardless of what you're doing inside your storytelling role, whether that's media relations or marketing. Focus on your audience more so than your organization, and you'll see an incredible conversion of interest and participation, collaboration, coverage, engagement, etc. So as a next step, take your last press release and rewrite just the headline and first paragraph using audience first thinking, and then compare the difference. You might need to practice this a little bit more and refine it a little bit more, but make it so it's interesting to your audience, not to your executives. Speaking of, we have a new service where we'll review your current or draft news release and guide you on how to improve it. Email us at podcast@ontopofpr.com if this interests you. We'd be happy to share more details about it. So in wrapping up today, I hope this episode was valuable to you and that we helped you stay on top of PR. If it was helpful to you, please take a moment to share it with a colleague or friend who you think would benefit from this episode. And with that, this is Jason Mudd with On Top of PR and Axia Public Relations, wishing you the best in all of your endeavors. Many thanks for your support and loyalty to our show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. We are growing incredibly, and it's because of you. And we want to thank you for taking the time to share this episode with friends and colleagues. And if you haven't yet done so, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. When you do that, email us also at podcast@ontopofpr.com. Make sure you send us a screenshot of your review so that we can associate your review with who you are, because we're now doing a monthly drawing of people who gave us a review, and you will receive a gift from me and thanking you for leaving us an online review. That said, if you don't win in that particular month, your name is going to continue to carry over so that you can win in future months. This is a new program we're just starting, so get in early so it's easier for you to win. But your name will stay in this hat or this random drawing until your name is drawn. And we're going to continue to do this for the long haul. So we've got gifts lined up that we can't wait to share and provide to you. But what you'll have to do is leave us a quick review on your favorite podcast platform. Email us a screenshot of that review and your contact information, so when we pull your name or when you're picked, we can contact you to let you know that you won. That's podcast@ontopofpr.com. Thank you so much for your support. I hope something great happens to you today. Be well.
This has been On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by ReviewMaxer. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and check out past shows at ontopofpr.com.